Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Clark. I'm the Operations Coordinator with the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Hi, everyone. So before we get started, I'm going to go through some logistics for today's webinar. All lines are muted and we are going to keep everyone muted throughout the presentation. So we do ask that if you have any questions or comments that you put them in the chat box and we will get to them at a Q&A period at the end of today's presentation. We are recording this webinar and a link to the recording as well as the materials will be sent to you in the follow-up email. There is also a link to materials in the chat box for you to view as we're going through them. We do also have ASL interpretation and live captioning being provided for today's webinar. The ASL interpreter is on the screen and captioning can be turned on and off in your toolbar. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to NYSCADV's Naseem Sarabandi, Project Coordinator.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy summer. I'm really happy that we are here with you today. Welcome to the Career Empowerment for Survivors, What Advocate Needs to Know webinar series. We are excited to say that this is not the only webinar on this topic. There's gonna be another 3 webinars through summer, so July and August. I wanna welcome everyone here and also introduce our amazing presenter, Nicole Eniclerico. She's a wonderful advocate that I met years ago in Economic Justice Summit, and I think she has a very wide expertise on this topic. Nicole is the STEP coordinator at the YWCA, Union County in New Jersey, and STEPs stand for Skills, Training, and Empowerment Program. She's been working with the survivors on the career empowerment and job readiness for many years. She's been a counselor on job readiness with the survivors, and she also holds a master's degrees from Rutgers University, Master of Social Work. With that, I think I want to also thank everybody, the ASL interpreters and captioners, and Jennifer especially, and hand it to Nicole for the webinar. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. You just heard a little bit about me, but I'm Nicole, very proud of the agency I work for, YWCA of Union County. We're one of the only domestic violence agencies in the county, and we have so many services that I'm going to go over with you, but I'm happy to be here. We actually use the All-State Moving Ahead curriculum with our clients, but I wanted to dive a little more into realistically what it's like working in this field with survivors and being able to see realistic situations, because it's easy to be able to read the curriculum and talk to clients about that, but what's different? What's different than the curriculum? Because every client is unique, right? So we have to look at all those different situations. But the first one is job readiness. And then the next one's going to be about career planning with the clients. And then the last 2 are going to be about interviewing. And I think that's one of the most important parts. So stay tuned for that. But I just wanted to get started with talking about how to get started with clients. And that's what the first presentation is about. But a little bit about the YWCA. Our mission is eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And we really try to keep to that mission. We pretty much empower survivors of domestic violence to be free from abuse and to become independent, not have to be dependent on the person who is hurting them. And then we promote social justice for women and girls as well. But when I say domestic violence victims, I mean all genders, non-conforming, everyone. And that's one of the struggles, is trying to pull all those populations into the services to try to get them what they need. But we accomplish this mission through comprehensive client services, collaboration with all the other programs we have when it comes to counseling, shelter, all those. And we really strive to build a safer and supportive community. These are all of our services. It's grown over the past 20 years, but we have our 24/7 hotline. Pretty much if a client is in any sort of crisis, they call that hotline, and it's kind of like a one-stop shop to be referred to different programs at the Y, or to be admitted into our emergency shelter, which is for clients who are in immediate danger and need someplace to stay temporarily, so they can be between 30 and 90 days. And then case management really deals with some of the barriers that clients have. We're actually going to talk about them, but they deal more with social services and helping clients navigate resources in the area, including trying to find affordable housing, which is big and tough for clients. We also have individual and group counseling. Our counseling is really based off of psychoeducation more than like psychology or going through the DSM-5. We really work off of psychoeducation and probably some cognitive behavioral therapy, being able to work with clients to change the way they think, to change it to be a little more positive. So we have both individual and group, and then we have PALS, which is our children's program, because of course, domestic violence affects children just as much, even more so sometimes. So we have a specific program for them to talk about the trauma and to, in the way that children like to speak. So it's through art therapy, play therapy, and drama therapy. And it's so fun to listen to them doing all those, especially when it's the drums and you're trying to work during the day, but the kids really love it. And then it's my program. I don't know why it says specialized, please ignore that. It's skills training and empowerment program. That's funny, we actually just changed the name. And I'm gonna get into what my program does. Then we have our DV liaison who works with DCPMP, or DIFUS as what they were known beforehand. So they're that connection between the Domestic Violence Agency and DCPMP. If there's a case with child abuse as well. We have court advocacy, which pretty much they will empower clients to take out restraining orders, help them through that process. And then going through any sort of divorce or immigration papers, they can guide them through the right steps. And then our crisis response team, very proud of, pretty much it's up to the police to contact us when they have a domestic violence survivor that they maybe just picked up and she's there and needs help with services. Someone from our crisis response team would go out and help them out. That's a little more tough because it is up to the police station to reach out to us. But they try our best, right? Community education and outreach, it's pretty much what I'm doing now. But we, try to engage the community in learning about domestic violence because it's so important and it really does happen to everyone. And then we have our Union County Family Justice Center, which is actually in the courthouse in Union County. So they're able to pull clients from, court cases that they know of, any restraining order cases. So they're right in the county courthouse for that. And just a little bit about my program before we get into everything else. We're a workforce and financial development program, specifically for victims and survivors of domestic violence. That's what's so great about the program, that it's very trauma informed. And that's what I'm going to go through a a lot of the presentation is looking through the lens of the survivor and why there's so many barriers and why it's so tough, because we have to understand that, right? Especially if we have standards for clients we want them to meet because we want them to be independent, but there's so much else going on with them that it's hard to expect a crazy amount, right? So we support them in all different areas. So we have individual coaching sessions, which is just one-on-one practicing with interviews, resume writing. And then when it comes to financial empowerment, we talk about credit repair, budgeting, being able to take out credit cards, any basic financial skill that, someone may not know or needs a little more training in. And then we have workshops for clients, pretty much financial and career workshops, both based off of the all-state curriculum, the Moving Ahead curriculum for survivors. So we have those as well. Then we have speaker workshops where we have professional women in the community. They come to the agency and give a presentation on a topic of professionalism for clients, because these clients may be someone who's getting back into the workforce recently. They've been out of the workforce for 6 years and they feel they need more skills to get back into it. So that's why we have those. Then we have career fair and hiring events. That's when we pretty much get vendors from the community who are hiring, who we think that clients may benefit from. We have them come talk to clients, tell them about job openings, and sometimes they get hired when it's a good fit. And then we do have financial assistance for clients who need help paying for trainings to kind of continue their education. So that's a big barrier, is money, being able to afford the trainings they need to get back into the job search. All right, so objectives, that what we're going to learn, understanding how DV and outside factors affects the client's decision to start the job process. So what gets them to start, right? And then we have to recognize the struggles the clients go through, because if we don't understand the struggle they're going through, it's going to be hard to properly assist them in the best way possible and in the most safe way possible for them. And then we're going to understand all different kinds of barriers the clients face when trying to apply to jobs that we may not face, right? That we may not know of or may not think of. Evaluating different methods as well, we can use as advocates to assist them. So I'm going to go over from my experience in working with clients and just from different resources. These are, some of the methods that could really help clients. But of course, first, we all talk about self-reflection and social work and looking inwards. So that is, of course, going to be my first slide. But you have to think about what your experience was with the job search. Did you get a job easily after 3 interviews, or did you have to go through 50 to 60 different applications, barely getting interviews, getting really frustrated, having bad interviews as well, like a crazy number of bad interviews? So you have to look at your own experience and say, okay, how is what I went through going to affect how I work with the client, right? That's the biggest thing to think about with anything when it comes to communicating with clients. When you were in an interview, did you feel judgment from the interviewer? Did you feel like embarrassed, or did you feel like you weren't good enough for the job? But it's really important for you to ask these questions to yourself, because again, our personal experiences can affect how we work with clients. And we can kind of understand if we can relate and empathize to clients who are going through this. Probably most of us do, because we've all been through, except that like lucky person who just gets a job one after the other easily. There are people that, and it's great. It's because you have skills, it's because of luck, but some other people, it's been really difficult. And I will say I have been one of them, where it's been like 15 interviews sometimes, and you're just like, what's wrong? Like, why am I not getting anything? And going through that, but then also going through the effects of domestic violence, it weighs so much on clients. So that's why it's important to go through. So very basic, domestic violence, it's going to lead to negative effects in the client's motivation to work. The best way to explain this is one of my clients, I just put her initials. She was working as a certified home health aide in a hospital in the area. And her abuser became very, he was becoming more aggressive in his ways of controlling. He would stand outside the hospital, wait for her to go to lunch. He would, if she wouldn't, she'd end up not even going to lunch, but then he would consistently call and call and call. And, you know, after a couple of weeks of him doing that, so she got fired, which sometimes you can't blame the job because it's the safety of the other workers, you know. So she realized that's why she got fired, and it's not because of her, but now she's scared to go back to work because she doesn't want that happening again, because she's like, Nicole, that was the most embarrassing thing I've had to go through. She's like, I don't want that happening again. And now she feels less motivated to continue as a nurse or to continue to become a nurse as she wants to, right? So it's the motivation, it snatches away from with all the control and manipulation. So it's very hard. But I have an update on her later, so it's good news. It's good news. They're going to see struggles going through job readiness, like what we've talked about before, not getting interviews easily. And then their self-efficacy, you know, how they can help themselves, it's already diminished from what they've been through, right? So sometimes it takes energy to be positive and to move forward. And sometimes they may not have the energy to do that. So I'll hear a lot when I'll start working with clients, you know, I don't interview well. Businesses don't want me. There's nothing on my resume that's good. And then sometimes if they have limitations on when they can work, like, wow, I can only work overnight because I have to watch kids during the day. So there are all these struggles along with the negative self-talk, right? Saying I'm not charismatic, I'm not a people person, I can't do customer service jobs. So it's that negative talk is going to affect them as well. But you can't blame them from after what they've been through. I do want to stop and look at the chat because I want you guys to be able to, you know, talk, and if you have something to say. Most of the time, a lot of the victims do not want to go and talk to HR regarding their DV relationship. The client could have asked for a transfer or changed her work hours. That's exactly right. And now after I've been working with that client for so long, that's what she knows now. She realized that, like, I didn't want to go to HR because it's embarrassing for her, but now she's been able to learn that was probably one of the best things she could have done, but now she knows for the future. But you're absolutely right. They don't want to go to HR and talk about that. They barely want to tell families or talk to a stranger about counseling. It's hard going to your boss, right? But very important thing is bringing out these positive affirmations, is making this experience more positive for them. That's why we're here, is really to lift them up. It's not to, I say it's not to find them a job. You know, that is their responsibility, and they do it a lot. They really do it a lot of the time. We're just supporting them and helping them through it. But make a habit for the client to start talking about positive aspects of the job search. You know, saying I am good enough to get a stable job, because it's possible. You know, a lot of people have stable jobs. That's what they find. I will find a job that it's what I want to do in my career, you know, and it's going to be a positive change. I'm doing everything I can to improve myself. You know, I'm applying, I'm going to interviews, I'm doing everything I can. So that's a positive thing. You're working your butt off. My personality fits, you know, whatever type of work. So always bring up, like, what's the field of work you want to work in? What have you enjoyed working in before? Again, positive, like, what has been your favorite job? What type of work do you feel would fit you best, right? And then, you know, a lot of clients, like, once I found a job that's right, I'm going to grow with the business. And that's what we hope clients end up doing. But these positive statements really does help. All right, let's get one now. So even the very beginning process, even the referral process is going to be difficult. They're going through a whole range of emotions, feeling vulnerable and embarrassed. I see this a lot because they don't want to have to ask for help for things that they feel they should know, right? So they may feel embarrassed to ask questions because, well, I should probably already know that. But no, you're not. Like, it's not, unless you specifically study something and really continually do it, it's not something that's common knowledge, like common sense, right? So they're feeling vulnerable or embarrassed, definitely. Lack of confidence in themselves to be able to do anything in the program. This is when I'll get clients ghost me after an intake or after 2 sessions. It took me a while to realize that it's not me. It's mostly where the client is right now. They're just not in the space to work on the program. But because of that lack of confidence, they may not want to be involved with the program because they're like, I'm not going to be able to do anything well with the program. So it's just getting them in as well is the hard part. And then I put here hesitancy to commit and then Maslow's hierarchy, because at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy is getting all the basic needs, right? Food, shelter, water, safety, your health. Those are most important. And I always tell the client that. So when I have other programs refer them, I always make sure, listen, does this client have food, water, shelter? Are all their basic needs met first? Because if their basic needs are not met, if they're not in a safe place, they're not going to want to commit to this kind of program because they're trying to figure out what they're going to get their food next. So it's hard to, you need to realize that they may not be able to commit because, they don't have shelter right now. They have something else they have to worry about. So really put yourself in their shoes, and you would probably feel all the same way if you were in this type of situation. I have a 12-week curriculum and I train people. Sometimes it's good to use the motivational interviewing model. Yes. Oh, that's something that could be a whole presentation. Motivational interviewing is really good. It's more of a positive way of being able to get information from clients too. All right, so look at their beginning process. So kind of the questions you asked yourself in the beginning, that's what the information you want from them. Did you have a good experience? Did you feel like you were ignored after applying online? This is where you're going to find out, do they have a similar experience to us? Did they have trouble? Or do they just need some help getting their resume together and they're kind of more put together than other clients? Sometimes that happens, but it really depends on what stage the client is in their process of leaving the relationship or their process of healing, right? We can't force clients to do anything. And that's something you learn after a while, is if a client doesn't want to do something, they don't have to. They have that right to say no. And that's what they're trying to take back. They're trying to take back the power in their own lives. So if they're not interested in the program, or if they're not interested in a job that you may think, wow, it's great, you can't force them, right? So the clients I sometimes do have ghost me, who just won't answer after the first session. I've learned to just be patient, because where they're in a better place, they will call you. So I'll get clients who I had one session, they ignored me for a couple of weeks, and then they came 3 months later saying, okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm sorry I ignored you. I'm ready to get into it. So, be patient, give clients time to get to what they need to do, what they realize that they need to do. And it does take time and energy to find a good job and to stabilize people financially. So just realize that the beginning process is really tough. All right, so first, speaking with the client, very important, I say, is validating clients. I'm sorry, let me just fix my computer here. Validating the client's story is very important. We need them to realize that your story is so important, and it's important enough that we want to hear it, and we want to sit there and listen to it for the whole hour that you're with us, right? We want them to feel comfortable. And along with that, we want to find out what they want to accomplish. What's their goals in the program? Why are they in the program? Why do they want to work on something like this? Definitely try to have a healthy conversation about their experience. And again, if you know a little bit about motivational interviewing, that does help. And it's asking open-ended question that's going to help you get the information you need. And to bring it out in a more positive light. So it's a very healthy conversation about what have you dealt with in the job search. And then that's when you're going to ask about barriers, like what makes this client situation unique? Why do they need my help? Why do they need the agency's help? This is just an example of our goals agreement that we have. You guys may have your different ones, but we pretty much, it says goal 1 and 2, but sometimes I'll put 2 goals on goal 1, just because, a lot of the times they'll have more than 2 goals. So you write this down and you go back to it after a few weeks and you check in on it, check in with the client, see if they need to add anything else to their goal sheet. And then make sure to continually update it. If they find a job, update it and put your initials there. Make sure you're showing the client that they're succeeding in their goals, in getting what they need and what they want. So I like being able to keep track of those kinds of things. These are the most common problems that I've seen, the most common barriers I've seen. And I'm going to go through each one. There's a couple slides for each one. Limited technology to apply online, little to no work experience, which happens a lot. Salary requirements, which is important, especially in New Jersey with the cost of living. Language barriers is a big one. Lack of confidence in self, and then documentation and citizenship. Okay. So for each one, limited technology to apply. This is more important now than ever because everything is on the computer, on phones. Most of the applications, it's hard to you can walk into a store and ask for an application and they're going to say apply online most of the time, right? Thankfully, more than half of the clients, at least that I've worked with, they have at least a smartphone that they can download some apps on. So like Indeed.com, right? But for clients who don't have a smartphone, that's when they have to use some other options that I'll talk about. But if they do have some sort of smartphone, they don't need a computer. They just need some apps to be able to, apply on their phone. And then a lot of the times people are learning about these electronic signatures now. So lack of knowledge in technology, if you don't know, to scroll all the way down and do a specific signature, right? If you don't know, if you haven't specifically read somewhere that you have to do that, clients may not know. I'll go through it with my older father, he's still trying to get used to this electronic signature thing. So maybe if you're sheltered, you may not see a lot of those, but you need experience to go through it. So yeah, it's really the lack of knowledge in technology is going to limit what the clients can do outside of the sessions. It's a little different now because I used to be able to sit next to clients and work with them with my computer in front of them. But then outside of sessions, if they didn't have any technology to be able to do anything or didn't know how to use it, then it's going to be harder for them to find a job because they're just working on it when they're with me. Now, a lot of the times, we haven't seen clients in around a year and a half, except for financial assistance. So that's already been pushed. Most clients now know how to do an electronic signature because of the past year and a half, so it's just, they were able to learn. A lot of people were able to learn about technology a little more. What to do as an advocate? One of the things that's going to be on every slide is just to empower them to push forward to find more solutions, right? There are solutions out there. We just have to direct them and push them to want to find them, right? So some of the things I'll empower them to find is public libraries in the area where they can go and use the computers and apply online with their resume, update their resume, do anything they have to. And I know some public libraries will let you rent out a laptop, but it depends on where you are and where you're living. But I know in New Jersey they do. Searching for cheap or refurbished tablets or Chromebooks. They may not work as well as a MacBook, but it's good enough to apply to jobs and maybe take an online class, So I've been able to get this for a couple of clients because if we only have a certain amount of funding, so we can't get all clients laptops, but for clients where that's one of the biggest barriers, I will push to find I'll find an $100 tablet or Chromebook and just say, it's not great, but this is something, right? And that's why we're there to kind of show them these avenues that they may not have thought of. And just be there and brainstorm with them, talk it through with them, don't just be okay, I'll find the resources and give you a call, talk them through it. I'll be on my laptop when I'm with clients searching while I'm talking to them, right? It's easier, you find solutions quicker. And then I put STEP computer labs here. We don't have them anymore for the past year because of COVID, but we used to have, we still have Chromebooks that we put out for clients and they would come and do their resumes and work on applying to jobs, when they couldn't come to the office and have that, it did hurt what clients could apply to and how many jobs they can apply to. So limited technology is the big one. Little to no work experience. This is when clients didn't have many responsibilities other than working at home with the kids and being there with the kids, or honestly just being out of work for 6 years because you had to take care of the children. That's probably one of the biggest things that I'll see is just these really big gaps in resumes. And that's why clients are like, I haven't worked for 6 years. I don't know how I'm going to find a job. Or clients who, came to this country recently and don't feel like they have anything to put on a resume. But I'm going to show you that the clients may not think they have work experience, but they do. Things they may not think is work is work. And I'll get into that in a second. But now they're kind of being forced after leaving this relationship, being forced into the workforce without any sort of preparation or, knowledge on what to do. And that's why we're here, is to kind of get them started, just be a stepping stone to their process. And again, a reason the client has no work experience could be because of the DV. You have to go back and think of the impact, the control the abuser has over this client is they weren't able to work because the abuser wanted them completely dependent on them. I have the money, I give you an allowance. I've seen that a lot with clients when they've been out of work for around 5 years because they've had their children. And they were only given a certain amount of money to survive on each week because the abuser had the job, had the money. So my specific client I'm thinking of, she was given $50 a week to survive with the kids, to be able to buy groceries for her 3 kids, and him. So she was given this very little amount of money to be able to try to find food, find anything they need. She was able to leave him, but now she's stuck, and she's just like, I don't know. I don't have work experience. He never let me work. It's a big thing I hear. What to do as an advocate? Always make a resume regardless of their experience. But I always make sure to tell them when you're talking to clients about their work, their past work experience, if they say no, you have to dig a little deeper. You have to find out, well, did you ever babysit or did you ever clean houses? Most of the time I get a yes, like even if it's just babysitting for independent clients, right? Word it differently where you can put it on a resume. Like, listen, even if you didn't or you worked under the table, that doesn't mean you don't have that experience. This is what we need to show clients is whatever babysitting, housekeeping, nail technician job that you did, you put that on your resume. You don't need to put an agency name. You just have to do, your job title and just write independent clients or even independent contractor. You're your own boss. You don't have anyone telling you what to do, but it's still work experience. So a lot of the times when I have 2 Spanish-speaking employees now, but before we didn't have any, I was working with Spanish-speaking clients through like Google Translate, and I understand and speak a little, but they were worried because they didn't have any jobs in the United States. And I see this happen a lot. We'll talk about it more, but when clients come from other countries, they have so much experience in that country, but they don't think it counts here. So they're like, I don't have anything to put on my resume. No, you do. You have she has a full resume. It's just in Spanish. Let's translate it, because everything that you're dealing with, that you've dealt with there and you've done, still counts here. But honestly, if they don't have any jobs that they've had, if you get that no, if you've like tried to push and see what's going on, having a skills-based resume is better than having no resume. That's why I always tell clients, it's better than nothing. You have skills. You really do. I had a client who she couldn't work or anything because she's been taking care of her disabled son for the past 10 years. And I looked at her and she had to realize that, listen, that's a job. That's a skill. You put that on your resume. You said that you've been a caretaker of a disabled person for 10 years. That's a skill. And you could get a job working with disabled, you may need a certification, things like that, but it's someplace to start, right? So helping clients find the work that they may not think was work experience, but it is. Let me just go to the chat really quickly. Oh, redefined cheat sheet. Yes. Yes. No, that's very good to have as well. Let me see. Salary requirements. Yes. This is everyone's problem, to be honest. We are all constantly trying to figure out the minimum amount of money we can survive on. You know, some of us may have good jobs, but some you need a budget strictly, and you don't have much money to spare afterwards. So clients, that's what they have to find out now is, okay, how much can I live on? So I need a job, you know, this is realistically what my resume is, but now how much do I need to make, right? One of the first things I'll do with clients when it comes to that is doing some sort of budget. And not even you don't even have to do a big budget, just getting down the monthly expenses and being able to discuss what they have to sustain their family. Also something to think about is if you get a job, if you're offered one, great, but you have to realize that whatever government assistance the client is also getting, that may disappear. You know, so then at that point, it's like, well, am I making more from government assistance or the job I'm going to accept? And that's the problem going on now. And that's why jobs are getting higher salaries, because no one wants these jobs that are, I can't survive on that. This is what the government's giving me, right? And that's what we have to protect ourselves. And we're of course going to keep the money that's coming from us from the government instead of getting a job that's $10 an hour, right? So these are the conversations you have to have with clients, right? Have a conversation about budgeting. Expectations, you just have to be realistic with the client about the jobs available to them. So I'll have clients with, you know, not much experience, which is fine, but they'll have, like, they don't have much entry level. And realistically, the jobs we're searching for, the highest they're going is like $13 an hour. And to that, after so long of the client not being able to find something, I always say, listen, I know that this job isn't your dream job and it's not the money you need, but a job right now is better than no job, because they're of course going to continue to look, but they need something in the meantime, something to survive on. You know, so I always let them know, listen, of course, within reasonable means. I always also tell the clients that you don't want to work in bad neighborhoods just to get money. You need to let them know that safety is number one when it comes to that. But salary requirements is tough, especially having to look at your budget and seeing, wow, I'm not doing good financially, or wow, I'm not doing that bad financially. I think I have the budget on the next one. Okay, sorry, I was looking at. This is just the most basic budget worksheet I've used with clients. It's easy to understand. It's easy to write down, you know, just whatever, like I'll print it out for clients. It's tough now because not a lot of clients have printers at home that they can print this out on, but they write it down. This is all they need to really figure out, okay, how much money do I need to make a month? Get down all your expenses. And another thing to remember when it comes to the client's budget and trying to figure out their salary requirement is if they have to pay back any debt. If they have a monthly credit card payment, you know, that's got to go on here as well. That's got to go under other, right? Things like that. So going over the client's expenses and then, you know, taking that away from their income. When it comes to net cash flow, I'll have clients, unfortunately, sometimes it will come up as negative. That will happen to clients. They get down all their expenses, they put down their income they may be getting from a part-time job or social services. You know, that all counts towards their income. If they get child support, if they get any government assistance, but sometimes the net cash flow will come up negative. And that's when the client's like, I don't even know how I'm surviving each month. But that happens sometimes because you have to move money around, you use credit cards. But it's just start the conversation. Something like this could definitely stress a lot of people out, but it's opening up the conversation in a place where the client feels safe. This is why building the rapport with the client is so important, and showing that we're here for them to focus on their goals. Okay. I got this from the New York and New Jersey website, so I'm pretty sure these are accurate. If not, please fact check me. But New Jersey has done a lot worse than New York. You guys, New York has not done that bad when I think of the places around me. So they're pretty much $15 minimum. I don't know what was wrong with Long Island. Long Island and Westchester took a little longer, but New Jersey, we're not going to be at our minimum $15 minimum until 2026, which is frustrating because clients saw that like the $15 minimum passed, but it's not going to fully get to that effect. It goes up slowly, as you can see from these. Each year it changes, so it's not like it just goes, now you get 15. So it's a process to build to that. But when I look at Jersey, it's very sad. You know, of course, everyone's here is not from Jersey. I'm just using it as an example of why our clients struggle, because it's going to be different in every state. Every organization has clients with maybe different boundaries than New Jersey, or different barriers than New Jersey. But one of them for New Jersey is the cost of living is ridiculous. Even for someone making a $50,000 salary, it's really tough when it comes to housing and things like that. $10, $8.85 is a scary number that people were getting in 2019 as a minimum wage. It's crazy. So it's now we see how stressful it is looking at this and looking at clients like, okay, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to get into. It's really stressful for the client, right? So we have to remember. What should we do as an advocate? Like I mentioned before, helping them start a budget is very good. But first of all, always talk to the client about what would make you feel comfortable. What would make the salary you would feel make you comfortable. It is difficult finding a salary in the range they need. But if they do, they may just have to change their budget or their lifestyle a little to make it necessary to become financially independent. So if you can't pay for cable anymore, switch to just, $10 a month for Netflix, you know? So this is when it comes to having to change the way you're living to be able to survive on less money. And again, very stressful conversation, but first we want to get to know what the client wants. I've heard this more than a couple times about the clients struggling with feeling devalued. They don't want to go to a company who's paying the employees $8.85. Meanwhile, we're saying, yeah, take it. That's it. But they feel like I'm worth more than that. The clients want to be worth more than that. And that's what we're trying to show them. So it's hard when they say no to something that's like $8.85. You can't blame them. Be like, listen, I'm worth a lot more than that. You know, my clients do something like that. I do applaud them. I'm just like, okay, not because yes, they turned down a job, but it's for a reason that they don't want to devalue themselves. And that actually makes me so happy to see. We want them to realize that they're worth so much more. They're worth more than $8.85, but financially, sometimes you have to start off with that. But this is true. We as advocates, we're trying to build them up, but how can they feel confident in the workforce when employers are not supporting them as workers? So we're telling them to get into the workforce. Meanwhile, employers don't seem to care about the struggles of employees when it comes to salary requirements. So these are just all things to have a conversation with clients about. You know, if the devaluing thing comes up, definitely have a conversation about that, because normally it's from the domestic violence and feeling like they're not worth anything after being abused for so long, right? Even a few weeks being abused like that, you're going to feel devalued in general. And then that's going to leak into all different parts of their lives, right? Okay, language barrier. So in New Jersey, this is a big barrier for our Spanish-speaking clients, specifically in Union County. Excuse me. I would say 3/4 of our clients are Spanish-speaking, and it's tough because you need basic English for these jobs, you know, and I hate telling that to clients because like, I don't want to force them into something they don't want to do, but there's a way to communicate with the client that, listen, you need basic English, like finding basic ESL classes. You don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to understand Like when it says on job applications, like need to know basic English, that's really it. Some jobs you just need basic. So we need to be able to communicate this respectfully, right? We know it's necessary for clients to learn English, but unless they make that decision for themselves, we can't do anything. The only thing we can do is educate them on the positive ways that ESL would benefit them, right? And actually one of the things going on now for clients is we have a 40-hour ESL training we got from the Union County College, which is great. We have 8 clients in it. It's virtual right now. And it's just basic, and it's specifically for English in the workplace, which is really good. So they're learning the basics of what terms they need to know in certain fields of work, right? So just very conversational English. But yeah, educate them on how that can really help them. But we also have to realize clients need to take their power back and make their own decisions without being scared of being judged, right? So if we let the client know about ESL classes in the area, so this could really help you. But if you're pushing it every session, and they're not doing it, it's because they just don't want to, they don't have the time. But if you continually push it, they're going to feel like they may be feeling judged. They may be feeling like you're being a little pushy, like I have other things to worry about. So you have to meet the client where they're at. If you're giving them the ESL resources, great, but if they're not going to do them, you can't force them. And then they kind of have to continue with the struggles of being able to find interviews. But yeah, really discuss with them. It's going to make your job search a lot easier. Like if they're hesitant to find a class, listen, it's going to make your job search a lot easier if you're able to, learn some basic English. So here are some free classes, right? You want to be able to take out some of the other barriers. So finding free classes is going to be, there's even a virtual class, because then they don't have to worry about their kids. So if we find like a free virtual class for them, and give it to them, we hope they would take it. But if they don't want to, then it's completely their decision not to do it, even though we want them to. So like I said, talk to client about finding the ESL class. It's just going to help them in their future as well, in whatever career they want to do. It's really going to help them get started. Search for local classes in libraries and nonprofit organizations. They're in New Jersey. I'm not sure about every other state, but we do have free ESL classes when it comes to, there's something called Literacy New Jersey. They give free ESL and GED classes. And then there's the Elizabeth Coalition to End Homelessness. They have ESL classes that are free. So finding the resources in the area that is easy for the clients to get to, that's how we can assist them. It's tough to find those unless you know where to look. So just helping them find those classes. And then sometimes being that connection between the client and maybe the person doing the training. But, again, if the client can do that themselves, that's great. But if they need a little more help, it's okay too, as long as they don't become completely dependent on you. Oh, and then this is what I was going to talk about beforehand. If they have degrees in another country and in another language, there is a way to get those credits and to translate the transcripts and the degrees. It's called the World Education Services. And then the other one is the University Translation Services. I think I have it at the end, but I'll just explain it now. WES, pretty much they take degrees and any sort of schooling from another country, and they evaluate it to make it eligible in the United States for them to practice that. So if a client has like a Bachelor of Arts in Dominican Republic, they have to get transcripts and their degree. They need the originals, and then they need a translated version. And then once WES gets that, they evaluate it, and then they'll let the person know, listen, you have to take more classes for it to be, to be able to be used in the United States, or, you're all good, you've met the requirements for this degree here, and then you could use that here. And then the University Translation Service, they work a lot with WES, because you have to get a certified translation of the degrees and the transcripts. They're the best ones to go to, at least, because they can send the transcript, the translated transcripts and degrees directly to WES. So they're best to work with. But so as you can see, there are options to be able to get rid of this barrier when it comes to language, right? And maybe degrees in other countries. There's a way to bring that here, right? Lack of confidence. This will affect their ability to interview, of course, as it will anyone. For example, when I first started interviewing, I had horrible confidence in myself and I was not getting very good. I was not going to interviews. I didn't think I was doing well, but I wasn't really helping myself. But then you kind of look inwards and you're like, okay, what is the problem here? It's because I don't believe in myself, right? And that's what we have to get the clients to try to do, to gain some confidence in themselves as a professional and their ability to be able to find themselves a job. Trying to get the motivation for them to apply to jobs they may feel are above them, right? It's going to be harder to see success in their future. Like, I don't have a high school diploma. I can't go for that job. I'm not good enough for anything. But you really have to build them up by saying, listen, you may not have the degree, but you have more years of experience. So that may be better, right? So you have to bring out the positives, motivate them that they are good enough to achieve their goals and to at least try to go for what they want. Because you always say, if you don't try, you're never going to know if you didn't. So I'll have clients, if they need like 5 years of experience in something and they only have 3, what's the hurt in applying? You never know. So I always tell them, but it's because you don't want to get a rejection, right? That's how we feel. It's, we don't apply to something, we're not going to get a rejection from it. And that's what I started doing. I just stopped applying to jobs, but that doesn't help, of course. So it's good to be able to focus on this lack of confidence and build it up. But because if they don't have confidence in themselves, it's going to be harder for them to do these things without the YWCA there or without us there. And we're not going to be there forever. Highlighting skills, it's an opportunity to focus on the client's strengths and how they can be used. So that's when you go back into like either the skills-based resume or the skills portion of their resume, going through that and saying, listen, you have this, this, and this. Let's focus on jobs related to these skills because you're going to use these mostly in the workplace, right? So again, there's the brainstorming, the positivity to it. It's kind of hard hearing someone say so many positive things about you and not to feel the same and not to feel any of it, right? They start to feel it. They start to, they get that interview. It's like, yes, oh my God, that's amazing. And they get the second interview, like continually, helping them, pushing them forward, saying, listen, you can do this. You have the confidence. You just have to show it. But yeah, assist the clients, discuss what they're good at and not what they're not good at. That's the biggest thing. Be patient, be as patient as possible. Again, for a first time, this is the first time clients are putting themselves out there. This may be the first time, like maybe she was took care of kids the whole time, and this is her first time going to an interview. Be patient. They're going to be so nervous. May continually call you to ask more about more interview questions, which has happened. So it's just, there are times when working with the client that you're going to be there more for them than other times. So like, for example, my client, this was the first interview she ever had. And I talked to her, I think 3 times in 1 week before the interview because she was so nervous. And I know I talk about, you do have to set boundaries for yourself. Otherwise clients, again, it's normal that they will become dependent on you, which is normal when someone's helping you out. But give them a chance, she was able to do it and she actually got that job, which is there's amazing luck. She did amazing. She was able to practice and she did it. But it's important to realize that this may be the first time they're putting themselves out there, right? Focus on the positives, and when an achievement is made, make it a big deal. So if they got an interview, make it a big deal. Even if, the rejection may come in the future, it doesn't matter. You focus on the here, like, this is great news. Now you get ready for the interview, right? And just like make everything they're doing a positive thing, make it a big deal. Listen, you're doing so great. Like, you've applied to 10 jobs last week, Like when they're doing the best you can, you really focus on that. Documentation and citizenship. Of course, undocumented clients have more barriers to deal with, depending on where everyone is and what state everyone is. There's just going to be less resources to assist them. And it's not our fault. It's just the social services. There's no help of social services while job searching, no unemployment. If they don't have stable housing, it's harder to find stable housing because, you need paperwork, you need a credit check, you need these things to find an apartment in a good area. They're not sure of even their safety, going to work. There is that constant fear of being picked up and not seeing their family again. So they don't even know if they're safe enough to work. I'll have clients say that under the table jobs, they just don't pay well. I would say undocumented clients, they get taken advantage of by employers, and I see it countless times, and it's so frustrating. But it's that a job is better than no job, but it's hard to do, it's hard to see. But yeah, without documentation, the employer doesn't have any documentation on them. They can say, I'm going to give you lower than the minimum wage, and it's not going to be reported, because if it's reported, then the clients, again, their safety is uncertain. So employers know that, and they'll take advantage. They'll pay clients a lot less if it's in cash. And it's so frustrating for us to see, because you just want to march up to that employer's restaurant or whatever and say, hey, give my client $8.85. It's really tough. And then as well, the more responsibilities at home. So it's harder to get free childcare if you're undocumented. A lot of the times you'll get free childcare from social services. Sometimes there are nonprofits that do give, that are able to help regardless of documentation, but they're harder to find. And then as well, if they have elderly parents at home who are also undocumented, they have to take care of them. That's their caretaker. They can't get a home health aide or anything like that. So it's tough. They go through more barriers than other clients I see. What should we do? Remind them of their rights, no matter the status. I would say, because they do have rights, they really, really do. And I think we're going to get into, I think it's going to be when we talk about interviewing, we're going to get into talking about what employers are allowed to ask and clients' rights. What's their right? Like, what can they say no to, right? You have to remind clients, even if they're undocumented, they have rights, no matter their status. They have the right to be treated fairly, right? You can assist them in starting the process to get a work permit, but it takes a long time. So it can take 5 to 7 months is the average. So again, just getting started with the process may help them in the future. If the resume is in Spanish or another language, you help with translating into an English version. Again, I mentioned, jobs are still relevant in their resume here as well. And you got to help them be creative in job opportunities. So if they have any friends, if they can get information on, there are bigger companies that have, so like McDonald's, they may have some independently owned restaurants that may hire undocumented. You never know. So you want to find creative ways of finding it. So, if a client walks around the neighborhood, they see help wanted signs, that's a big one. The small store, they may not have an online application, right? So going into the smaller stores, also good. Employment agencies in the area. I have a slide a little later about this, but if the client does not need a stable full-time job, if they need like part-time, temporary, I would say employment agencies, some of them do not require documentation. It's harder to find them because, clients don't want to just walk into one, and if they need documentation, they walk out. So you got to make sure you find the right ones, but they are in the area. And then steering clients towards entrepreneurship. If they have a certain skill, or if they've maybe always wanted to start selling their food or selling services like nail technician services, you can push them towards entrepreneurship if they like if they're interested in maybe taking some business classes, things like that. I do have clients who are undocumented who have businesses and, good businesses, not with LLCs and things like that, but it's, you know, it's a good source of income because they have connections, they learn social media, things like that. So there are other avenues. So how it affects advocates. So how does it affect us working with clients? Of course it does, you know. But as advocates, we need to support the decisions that clients make on their own, even if we think they should be choosing differently, right? Like, listen, I know you are worth more than that job, don't take that job. So we may have those things going on in our head, but we cannot voice that. We cannot say, you know, you have to stop yourself from saying things that you want to say sometimes, like, no, that's not, you can get better. Don't do that. You can get better. You have to be careful because it's, again, the power is with the client. I had a client who was continuously turning down jobs that could financially stabilize them while she finds a better job, but she continually was turning them down for other reasons besides, you know, her barriers. And it gets frustrating. Like, you want the client to succeed. You want to show them, listen, you know, it's taken, you know, it has taken a while. Let's look towards an option of taking a smaller paying job while you look for a better one, right? So, but when clients don't listen, it's when clients don't, when they decide to make a different decision than what you may have talked about with them, we can't take that personally. We're going to feel frustrated, but again, meeting the client where they're at is very important. And the point of I talk about the all-state curriculum, but the point of us working with clients and the point of any curriculum we use is to promote independence and self-efficacy, and just to educate them on how to facilitate positive decision-making, how to make the decision you want, you know, whether we think it's best for you or not. It's really, the ball is in the client's court. But it can be very frustrating. Some things to watch out for. Doing everything for the client, which I'm horrible with this, because sometimes if it's just faster for you to do something rather than them, sometimes you'll do it. It's faster if you do it, but that's not going to help the client in the long run. They may not feel the need to do anything outside of sessions because they'll just do it with you because it's just become a habit, which is normal. If you help them learn the process, they won't need you in the future. If you kind of push them to learn the process and do it themselves without us, they're going to end up not needing us in the future, instead of being with us for a year, 2 years, and still not being able to succeed in what they want to do. So try not to do applications for them, even if you can probably do it faster. Allow the client to do as much as they can comfortably. When I would like sit next to clients and do it with them, I would give them the computer and I'd let them do it no matter how long it took, right? If it's going to take them an hour, just let them do the computer and say, I'll do it for you. Just tell me everything you want to put, right? Even though that may take faster, it's not what the client needs. Depending on where the client is in their process, it is okay to be more present with that client and help them a little more than you would with another client who may have less barriers, right? So again, it's going to depend on the client, how you work with them, what they need from you. It's going to depend. But looking back at the client's goals after 3 months, every 3 months, to say, okay, are they succeeding without me? You know, that's what you want to see. You want to see the progression, and if the sessions are helping or kind of limiting them from doing things outside of the session. As an example, I had a client, LY. She became dependent on the advocate. She rarely applied to jobs outside of the sessions, and we only realized after a while, because it was like a year and a half. You know, in the beginning, we were there for her more. The client can't fully read English, so the advocate wanted to help as much as possible, which is, again, definitely normal. So she did an application for the client, but then it continued for each session. She ended up doing so many applications with the client that they weren't comfortable doing anything without the advocate, right? So that's not helping them, us doing everything for them. So again, it's not the client's fault either. We need to learn to make boundaries for ourselves. Watch out for also sending clients to apply to a company without looking them up first, because of course, scams can happen on something like Indeed.com, any sort of pyramid scheme you don't want the client getting involved with. So you want to let them know about not providing personal information to an employer before they, a lot of information before they hire you. You know, these places do not need all your personal information until they hire you. You got to be careful with the scams as well. I actually learned recently about this, saving client passwords on your computer. So if you don't specifically go back into like Google Chrome and erase like the browsing data, it will stay there. And then sometimes we'll put in the autofill for passwords. So it'll give you an option after like signing in to maybe a client's application with them, remember my login info. So clients are like, oh yeah, that's good. But only on their computer, on their devices, they can do that. But when it comes to your own computer, never remember their login info on the computer, because then, you know, that's very private. You want to be careful when it comes to confidentiality. Okay. I also put here, watch out for connecting clients with hiring agencies. Just let them know, if they have a certain expectation for the jobs they're getting from there. You know, again, if other avenues have been looked at and it's taking the client a long time to find jobs, and it's a good option, then I would say, you know, go for it. Help the client find a good hiring agency in the area that could give them temporary jobs while they're trying to find a stable one. But if the client wants a job that's more stable, explain to them that a hiring company, they're going to send you to multiple companies and you're going to be doing a couple different things. So just let them know, because they may have different expectations. Let them know that it's going to be harder to find stable work through a hiring agency. It can sometimes happen, like I had a client who, she was doing these temporary jobs, and then the organization actually liked the place they had sent her, actually liked her so much that she got hired for a full-time position. So things like that do happen, but you always have to let the clients know that something ahead of time could happen. Okay. Shooter. What else? Oh, I was going to talk a little bit about this. I'm not sure how many people here use the All-State curriculum. It's called the Moving Ahead Curriculum for Financial Empowerment, and they also have workplace empowerment as well. This is one of the activities they give us. I know I can always send out some things as well if you guys are interested, but it's pretty much going through certain job search situations to find out what the client is comfortable with while applying to jobs, right? So certain things like putting personal information on the resume. Do you feel comfortable with that, or do you feel unsafe? Working a night shift, working in a secure building, you know, going through this with the client, it'll kind of get them ready to know what they are comfortable with when applying to jobs. Like, okay, after filling this out, they can see, okay, apparently I'm not good with being alone in an office and taking the night shift. So I think it's going to be during the day, right? So they can kind of take a look at this and see what they're comfortable with. But the purpose of it, I know if you guys want that, if you don't have it, I can definitely send it out. But this highlights the client's past experiences, right? They may not realize that, but we do. We know that if they're picking something because it's unsafe, it may be because something happened in their past that made it unsafe for them, right? That's why you have to go a little deeper into things you do with clients, because there's always a reason for it. There's a reason why they feel that way. But yeah, so anything they may have been through something that made them feel unsafe, talk it through with the client and find a solution to stay away from those, because we don't want to stress out the client more by putting them in situations that they're uncomfortable with, right? So just talking it through with the client and finding a different solution. Like, okay, how can I stay away from jobs during a specific time, or jobs where I have to open or close a store because you may not be safe feeling, you know, being alone in the workplace. So those are the things you really have to go through. But it can prepare the client to think of what they want as an employee and what they want in their job. So for example, if the client feels unsafe leaving their children, but it may be necessary for her to work. So that's why it's just good to have those conversations with clients about, you know, if they do feel unsafe with something, but they may have no other option, talk about a way to make it more safe, right? That happens as well. If, you know, she has to leave her child with a stranger because the family can't do it, help her find safe ways to find a babysitter, to find a stranger. I hate the word stranger, but you know what I mean. To find someone she doesn't know. Listen, go on care.com and there's background checks of these caretakers. So, you know, to make them feel a little more comfortable. It's just helping them find solutions. Just some few quick tips. These are like the last slides. Setting up an email for only job sites. I tell that to anyone just because your email will be spammed with them, which is good. You know, when you get a lot of emails from Indeed, they're setting you up with jobs that are good. But have one separate. Don't include your first or last name just for, you know, confidentiality. You want to keep as much information to yourself. Just it has to be professional and appropriate, not like chicky girl, whatever. Everyone knows that though. Updating resume and answering emails at the public library again. Building a safety net for themselves when it comes to communicating with friends and family members to let them know when they're going on an interview. Because again, safety is key. We want to make sure the client doesn't have to go through any more negative experiences. So one of the ways you can tell them, listen, if you feel a little unsafe, maybe going to this interview at a company you don't know, this is after you looked up the company and realized it's legit, say, you know, tell a friend or a family member where you're going and let them know how long you should be gone, right? Let them know your location, the address of the business, right? So again, a solution for maybe a client who feels uncomfortable going to interviews. Googling themselves to see what information comes up on the internet about them. You know, some sensitive things may come up, so clients have to be ready for that, but help them contact the people that is able to get that off, because there is a way to get that off. The best way to do it is like for Google, it's going, is to contact the website owner. Like you type in Google, but then when you type in the actual website, whoever owns that website is the one who published it. So you can, if they remove it, Google won't find the information to list the search results. So you can help them through that process as well. And then of course, go through the safety when it comes to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you know, talk about appropriate postings if they're big on, and they're big on social media. And then teaching them a little bit about privacy settings when it comes to websites they're going to apply. You need to make sure that they're not giving out information that they may not need to, but they may not know, like not to give, you know, someone maybe their full, I don't always give full addresses to companies anymore. I'll just put maybe the town or the state or put NA, you know, so, you know, talk to them about different privacy settings and what they can do. Quickly, deal breakers beforehand. Tell clients before you go in an interview, figure out your deal breakers. So let the client, what can't I do at a job? You know, what's something that if they say I need to do that, I know I definitely can't do, and that's like a deal breaker. Like if they're like, oh no, it's only overnight, that may be a deal breaker for a client. Like, no, I really can't do that. So find those out early on so you know what to look for. And just be prepared, let clients know to be prepared to ask that directly to the job if it's offered before it's accepted. So let them know, like, if they offer you the position, find out some of these things before you accept it, because it may not be, you know, it may not be for you, even if they do offer it. So you got to make sure. But you just want to let them understand that the job needs to fit their safety requirements that will allow them to do the job performance. All right, good. This is the end. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update and then 2 client examples, but this is the client from the beginning who she had the abuser come to the hospital, pretty much get her to lose her job because he would continually call, continually be outside the hospital. But she's been in a program for a year now. Because of the last incident with her last abuser, she didn't want to work in a hospital. But since then, she was able to find a part-time job at Planet Fitness, which fits her schedule with her daughter. And, you know, after talking it through with her, she still does want to go into the medical field. So she's getting her certified medical assistant program through a specific grant in New Jersey, actually. It's called the Displaced Homemaker Grant. I don't know if other states have it, but it's a really good grant. It covers domestic violence survivors, at least in New Jersey, as a displaced homemaker is someone who has not been in the workplace a while, or there was a specific circumstance that stopped them from continuing their education. This grant covers them. I don't think it covers my undocumented clients though, unfortunately, but for clients who want to continue their education but don't have money for it, they can find these grants in the area, and it can really help them along. And then she was also able to get into a credit repair program and learn how to budget. So, you know, regardless of what happened, you know, in the beginning with her, she was able to progress from there. And then just this client, she was in the program for 7 months. We worked with her for 2 months, lost contact with her, that she came back. In the beginning, she was, you know, homeless, trying to find a part-time job to kind of subsidize what she was making from her full-time job. She struggled with interviews. She must have went on around 20 interviews, and, you know, almost every one of them, she'd say, Nicole, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. But after so long, she kept pushing forward, kept, you know, helping her out. And she did get a part-time at Burlington Stores because she was getting so frustrated that she wasn't, at some point, she just wasn't getting interviews. So you don't know why. Like, it's so frustrating as an advocate. Like, why are you not calling this client back? She is exactly what you need in the organization. So that's why you get frustrated. But she went there. She spoke to the manager. She was like, listen, I actually applied online. I haven't heard anything, but I'm really interested in working with you. And then they gave her the job. So, you know, doing something like that is out of the box as well. And then she was able to find, thankfully, a good apartment because she was homeless, which was another barrier in general. So these are just the some of the information about West University Translation Services. Oh, and then ESL. Oh, so I did put, so their displaced homemaker could be in other states. I just didn't want to. Let me see, I'm just reading the chat, sorry. But yeah, so these are some pretty good resources. Check if you guys have the displaced homemaker grants. If you do, there's a specific website for it. And I put New York and New Jersey, but normally it's dealt with within county colleges. A lot of the time, that's where the grant is based. So look into it, see if it covers anywhere you guys may be. But I think that's it. That's where I got the minimum wage information. But and then that's my contact info. But I wanted to open it for questions if we have time.
Thank you, Nicole. This was really great. Wonderful, very
welcome.
Comprehensive. We did have some question in the chat box. I think you went through some of them. We also had on some question in the Q&A about resources for the language for interpreters and ASL interpreters. So I think my colleague Jennifer is going to send some resources for the participant in the follow-up email. So look out for that.
Yeah, and there's also I think it's called Language Line. It's a it does cost money, but it's at least what our organization uses for translation. If in New Jersey, we'll have French Creole come into the shelter as well. And they use something called Language Line, which is pretty much like interpreters, like a long menu of interpreters, pretty much available on your phone.
Right.
You know it costs money. I think that's what other people may use.
Yes. And then we have also the International Institute of Buffalo in New York. So that's another resource. So there are a couple of places to check for the interpreters. I think there is a question in the chat box. Did you talk about address confidentiality program? Yes, there is one in New York State. There is a program in New York State that survivors can get a PO box and keep also their address confidential. We do have a link for it. We can send it in the chat box.
New Jersey doesn't. Yeah, I think it's like every state I think has one.
Yes, exactly. And I see there is another question that I don't know if it's a question or a comment or somebody's saying like maybe it's good to do a pre-training for interviews, which might be something for the survivors, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Like mock interviews, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get into that. Because I would say interviewing is probably one of the most difficult things to do for anyone. And you have to think of someone who's been through abuse and been mocked and things like that. So judged interviews are tough. So that's why I have like two different talking about it like twice. So there's a couple things to talk about with interviewing, but I think we'll probably go over a lot of things like mock interview questions, things like that. So it's a good one.
Right. I'm not sure if there is any other question. I think my colleague also sent the address confidentiality link on the chat box, Jennifer.
Yeah, if you guys do end up having questions, you can just keep them for the next, or you can email me. Honestly, all my information's there. So
Yes, and then we have also webinars scheduled, as I mentioned, in July and August. So you can see it in the chat box. You can sign up for it and also participate on that webinar. We are going to we recorded this webinar, so you're gonna get a link for the recording as well.
This is Jennifer. I do see a few questions that are coming in regarding a certificate for this course. If you send me an email letting me know that you need one, I can have one drafted and sent to you. I'll put my email address in the chat box.
Somebody asked about that link for the homemaker grant, the displaced homemaker grant.
yes, let me see if I can. It's in the presentation. I don't know how to get it out of the. Oh, I don't even know what I did.
That's okay. I actually found it, so I'm gonna just put it in the chat box.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I love the program. They're very good. Cover a lot of certifications. But they do I know they do like an intake process, so they do have to be eligible, but a lot of domestic violence survivors and what they've been through, pretty much it limited them from continuing their education. So I don't think it's going to be a problem being eligible.
Yeah, and do you remember, Nicole, that there was a women empowerment grant in the curriculum? I remember it was one of the resources in the Moving Ahead curriculum.
I'll go through the curriculum and see. I'll see it's actually. That's what I've been looking at. It's hard to. There was another scholarship program. It was the Women's Independence Scholarship Program, which I loved because they would like $2,000 after clients applied and things like that, and it went towards something they wanted to study, but they don't have applications until 2022. And I like that one, but.
Oh, okay. It might be that one actually that you're mentioning.
It may be.
Yeah, what I'm thinking. The other thing is like the programs that are participating in this webinar and they are like New York State programs, they can actually apply for because we launched a request for proposal for Moving Ahead grant, the Economic Justice grant, and for 2021, 2022. The deadline is tomorrow, COB, end of business day tomorrow. But one of the thing is, one of the budgets that line of budget that this grant can be used is helping survivors to get on courses and programs, that helps them to advance their job or employment. So that's like a resource for the advocates here. And if you become our sub-recipient for this grant. I actually can, I think it's possible for me. I don't know if I can do it this way, but if you want to have any question, any more information about this grant, please email me or my colleague Jennifer, so we can send you information. I don't think I can upload a file here, like the overview of the RFP, but we can email it to you. I'm not actually seeing any other questions. I don't know if there is anything else to talk about or discuss before we sign off.
There's going to be a lot more for the next 3, so.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Nicole. We really appreciate your, your expertise, your time. You're so good at this. So we are thankful for that.
Thanks.
And thank you to everyone, to my colleague Jennifer and everybody here, the interpreters and captioners. So we'll be in touch for the second webinar next month.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll see you there.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you.